Alright, you can start back up again and I'll get this going. Greetings, brothers and sisters. Professor Spira here.
Brother Ehret, what's going on?
Yeah, we are.
What's up? Oh.
Coming at you live in the studio today with Brother Ehret. And we are preparing for a concert that is going to be this Saturday at ComFest in Columbus, Ohio, and we'll be on the live arts stage, and we play at 4:40, I think. I better look it up. I don't know, I kind of forgot it.
I don't know, I just found out about it. I don't know, I'll be there though. So
let's see the performance.
I'll be there.
I'm gonna look this up. So, we are on the live art stage, Professor Spira and Brother Ehret Fire Music Project at 4:50 p.m. I think they actually changed it, but 4:50 p.m. on the live art stage. And let me show you. So here's the ComFest website, www.comfest.com, and you can see here. This is us. Now, ComFest is this big music festival here. Well, it's music and art and politics and all that kind of stuff.
Nakedness.
Naked people, yeah, topless folks and all kinds of stuff. And in the middle of Columbus, Ohio. And, you know, I've been playing ComFest for years, and, you know, 2005 or something, the first time. We played with, Rolando. Was it Rolando? I think that might have been the first time I played ComFest was Rolando.
Rolando Matias.
And you want to get close to the mic there.
All right.
So so if you're in Columbus, Ohio, then come on through to ComFest. We're gonna be there. Then I play with another group later as well on the jazz stage called Chicken Hawk Bird Getters. We play at 7:40 on the jazz stage on Saturday. So this is coming up Saturday. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And, we're just going to do what we do. As you saw that we're playing, I talk a lot about Mucusless Diet Healing System and the details of transitioning and healing and fasting and all that kind of stuff. But, and a lot of people think that's like what, that's what it is. It's our favorite thing to talk about. But really, my favorite thing to do and talk about is music. But anytime I do something with music, it seems like anytime I do something music related on the channel, the folks that are into the diet aren't really into the music yet. So we're hoping that folks will start being able to get into the music, because that's where we can take this whole thing to a whole different level. I've been trying to inspire people to talk more about the diet within the context of art. Yeah. And music making, and that
because it makes sense to understand the relearning process. The relearning process is about every part of your life. Every part of your life. So the way that we got introduced to music in America was through television, radio. And so all that is hardcore propaganda tools that they use to educate us about the music that we like. All that comes from being programmed to like a certain chord change, or you know all these. I mean, it's like it's like so. The practice of the Mucusless diet has always been a total transformation for us, and that includes your art. You know, if you don't know about John Coltrane and Ascensions and Live at Temple University and Sun Ra and Places to Space and Space is the Place and Ornette Coleman and Albert Eiler and groups like Air and the New York Art Quartet, Cecil Taylor, just a lot of the, as they called it, avant-garde or advanced grade music was more of especially when it was being developed in the late 50s, and especially in the 60s, based on what was going on in black people's lives. You know, you had all this. You had, you know, Malcolm and Martin Luther King and Kwame Ture, the Panthers. You had towns going through riots, and so the music was kind of apropos for what was going on. You know, in '68, when Martin, you know, was assassinated, when Malcolm, all these things, but then listen to the music that they pushed on you. Motown, I Love You Baby. We wasn't in no I Love You Baby stage.
Yeah, right.
You know, I love you, my girl.
Talking about my girl.
And don't get me wrong, man. I grew up on that music.
Right.
And I love the music, and it's good music. It's good music, but it wasn't. It was part. It was a part of certain people's assimilation type of music, you know, fitting in, because at the same time you had My Girl coming out, you had Watts burning down,
right?
so you know, it wasn't matching up, you know, with what was going on in people's lives, and especially in black folks' lives. You know, black folk was conking out, you know, wearing their hair straight, trying to look like white folks. And, I mean, it was the total assimilation. And it seems like we accepted it, and with the arts, we didn't kind of pick our art, like pick our art for our life, like what was really going on. We didn't
it's
that, you know?
I mean, that's the point at which the industry of popular music was getting its legs, and it was all about distraction. Diversion. Mm-hmm. And so, and even when people started talking about something that might be a little bit controversial or political, the people that was pushing that to make money off of the music found a way to circumvent that and to essentially emasculate whatever it was, to kind of make it devoid of the original intent of the artist, you know, the meaning, you know, where it was, you know, people just wanted something that was really kind of watered down, and it just got real watered down, corporate type of stuff.
Keep everybody screwing, man. You know.
Keep deaf, dumb, and blind. You know, and it, you know, have it really be. I mean, you really listen and check out a lot of the stuff in pop music. It's about that the mating rituals. You know, the carnal type of thing. You know, it's like. You know, so what's up with that? You know, and so so what Brother Ehret's talking about is this era that we're really interested in terms of the late '60s and the early '70s.
But we're interested in 2019. They killing the hell out of black folks.
Well,
police is shooting folks down.
Yeah.
So we talking about 2019. as well as
the
60s too. I mean,
well, I'm talking about the historical context that you were talking about. You know, and so to say this is where it's coming from, because because I'm aware that what we're doing, a lot of people never heard about it. They have no clue about it, the history of it. All they know about is the Bee Gees and the Beatles and that's
Beatles
so you start talking about Archie Shepp, and that's where Fire Music Project was kind of tipping our hat a little bit to Archie Shepp's album Fire Music back in the day. It was a real political type of album, but so in a little bit ago I showed a picture of John Coltrane. That's about as close when people want to have a conversation about religion. I'll be like, well, I'll bring up the John Coltrane. That's it there. That's what we're talking about. So I mean, give it a chance. Give the stuff a chance. Go look into some of this music, put it on, and think about what would Catholic priests that molest children, what would that music sound like? What
would that sound like?
Because the music is it's an expression of what's going on, and that brings you up to talking about 2019. What should the music sound like for what is going on out there? That what's really going on out there. The music ain't gonna be
mucus and pus music. I mean, that's the way we're talking. We're on the mucusless diet. We talk about that. You know us from that. So mucus and pus have their own brand of mucus of music that they push that helps promote mucus and pus. They know exactly what to play. And how to go in the studio and make music that panders to the mucus and pus eater.
Right.
They know exactly what they're doing, and so I mean.
And we do have music available. I don't. Over the years, I haven't promoted it that much because again, mucus-free life, and most of the people are just interested in what we have to say about health and diet and everything. But this has always been there, and the people that really wanted to find it have found it. So we have, and there's more music coming. What I'm actually working on right now is I'm gonna put all of our music on a platform, and for one low price, you get access to it. It'll be the same platform I use with the e-course, but it'll just be all of the music and videos and all that stuff. We got a lot more material than is even out here on this page that we got, these few little things that we have out here, but and I don't even see the one. There's one that's available on CD baby. We got the V equals P minus O album is available. That's on Spotify, and you can stream that. Breatharian Ensemble. You can find that on there. YouTube, all that kind of thing. But that's, I mean, the music is how I got into the diet. That's how I got into it, where I was hanging out with Brother Air, and then the story that I told a million times, the fateful day at Shea Nora, where me and Ryan were we was in between at the jam session, and in between we had the little spread and had all these chicken wings, and we was just sitting across from you. You was sitting like right there. Me and Ryan was sitting here. I was eating these chicken wings, and you just had this look on your face like you couldn't hold your tongue any longer. And you just started talking about the diet, and as you did, it got slower and slower, and then I just started looking at the plate like, oh. And and then we ended up, I think we talked another couple hours downstairs after we went downstairs after the whole place had closed down. We was out there just standing on the corner talking, and then then Ryan, he got the book first. He went and got the book like the next day. I did what I tell people not to do, which I just started changing immediately, and I did like a week or two on fruit, and then just to see if I died. I was just like an experiment, you know. I'm like, what would have happened?
Wow.
And in my case, I felt better. Now I always warn people, don't do that, because a lot of people do that, and physiologically they're not ready and they mess themselves up because they couldn't handle that. That's why we preach transition all day, every day, 24/7, 365. Transition is going to be what you get from us.
And no matter how long it takes, it's a nice, slow, and steady transition. It's a beautiful thing to be into.
Yeah.
You know, just doing it right. That's what you want, is to be doing it right and getting results.
Right.
Because you don't forget that the goal is to try to become mucusless.
Yeah.
That's what the goal is.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be overnight or in a few years or whatever. You know,
real mucuslessness.
Yeah, actually.
Not none of this go away for the weekend and eat just fruit at the fruit festival and then come back home and go nuts, you know, on mucus stuff. You know, we're talking about like being mucusless for the rest of your life, like and comfortable with it.
Right.
You know, comfortable with, like, this is where I'm at. It takes time. Takes time to get there and to acquire that kind of palate.
Right.
It takes time, you know, and a lot of cleansing. So, you know, with the mucusless diet, you got time, because you're going to be here. If you're practicing and transitioning and doing the proper things, you'll be here.
Yeah.
You'll be here. So just take your time, and because there's not too many people who can boast that they're mucusless.
Right.
See, that's the Grammy, that's the Oscar, that's the Nobel Peace Prize. That's for us.
Right.
That's, you know, that's the piece, is those who become mucusless, you know, and comfortable with it, and that is their physiology, right, at that point, like, you know, so yeah, man, it's beautiful. And
I'm gonna see what's going on in the chat. Hey, if you guys got questions, this is kind of just this is open. We opening this up. You don't really, other than just
chatting away.
Yeah. You got some. You know, I know folks always got questions for Brother Air.
Oh,
and they always want you to. They always want you to type. You know, they always want you to respond. You know, they'll be like asking a question. I'm like, man,
my typing finger.
Yeah, I'm like, he's not gonna type something up. He can't. You know, he can. You know,
one finger, man.
And that's why, you make like a statement. People will get aggravated. You'll make like a sentence and then not say anything, and they'll be asking questions like, brother, what you mean by that? What are you talking about? It'll be like, I don't know. I can't type.
That's part of how we get you. We pull you in, and then we
try to, like, what is it? But what's going on? Obercon said that this was interesting. Yeah. The music history is interesting. I'm used to hearing KRS-One talk about hip-hop like it was the origin of the struggle. Yeah, my dad grew up on West Montgomery and prided himself on being able to set.
Well, that was well put.
Yeah.
KRS-One is a trip too, man. I mean, he appears to have, like, you know, it's like the pseudo-intellectual cat that. And then, you know, I look at his physiology, I'm like, man, he's missing something, you know, this cat. And he's supposed to be, like, really, like into vegetarianism, and he talked some stuff. I just can't really swing with him. It's just something about him that I can't go, like, all in with him. I like what he does in terms of some of the information that he tries to, you know, impart on people with, you know, this conspiracy stuff. But it's just something about him, man, it's not, you know, it's not kosher. And I like I like what brother just said about it. I mean, it's kind of apropos.
Well, and a lot of the cats are like that. Like a lot of the the hip hop, some of the older head hip hop guys, that they'll be talking about history, like, you know, in a way where they're trying to get the young guys interested in history, but they don't know the history. They're not going back far enough.
Yeah,
you know, they'll go back to as far back as they go is like 85. And like what was said here, you know, the last poets way before KRS, and you know, and you can keep going on back.
And the only time that it seems like the only interest that they have in music is when music was making money. Like with this hip hop, when you know the money, they wasn't sitting around like, man, you know, myself or Professor Spira, we were going to like classical concerts and sitting there trying to figure out,
study.
You know, and study and I just don't get that feeling that they, you know, it was like the only interest that they have in music is based on all these hip hop guys who have become like wealthy guys, and they want their turn and they want a part of that, and they try to make us think that, you know, my thing is John Coltrane, Duke Ellington, Louis Armstrong, you know, that whole lineage. The end result of that is Jay-Z. Come on, man. Am I just messing with Jay-Z? I mean, come on. I mean, I'm just saying that the legacy of the sophistication of the kind of music that Duke Ellington was dealing with, and for how long he dealt with it, and kept a group of guys on the road, you know, Coltrane quartets and quintets, and Louis Armstrong body of work, the Hot Five, the Hot Eight, you know, just, and then the end result of that is Jay-Z. Was it the Black Album? And I mean, I got into.
I mean, that's what. But the thing is, there was
night at the Wailers concert.
Well, of course you did. You don't have to tell me. I know you did.
An argument
I'm sure you did.
At the Wailers concert about that, man. He was like, "Wow, I've listened to, you know, you can't." I was like, "Look, man, my life would have not." Okay, I'm gonna make this. This is a bold statement. If hip hop wouldn't have never hit the scene, it wouldn't have done anything. I mean, my life wouldn't have been no different in terms of the arts. You know what I mean? It was like it didn't faze me at all. I mean, at all. What it did do is, the one thing about the hip hop guys is they learned how to get paid and keep the money.
Right.
That was what we could learn something from that.
Right.
Like how to keep the money. And I mean, they were going around, man, and selling CDs and out the trunk of their
albums,
cars.
Yeah, the record albums.
Yeah, and things like that. And so they, you know, but as far as the music of it, I just never. I tried to give it a chance, man. But anytime you're using drum machines, and you are affecting the emotional rushing of the music that we call black music, you know, I mean, it affects that, because now a drum machine, it doesn't speed up, it doesn't slow down, it stays right there. And when you go back and listen to all this music that we grew up with, you know, like take Al Green, Let's Stay Together. You listen to that song start off, but by the end of the song, it's moving. A little, you know what I mean? Nobody have a problem with it, because it was the emotional rushing that was involved in the music. And now with the drum machine sequencers, the whole technology thing, and believe me, I love technology. But it took out the emotional rushing out of the music, and therefore it kind of neutralized what we call black music, and now it's no separation. It's just people who can who can buy drum machines, who can buy sequencers, who can a Lindrum. All the hip hoppers was using the Lindrum when that first came out. You know who's in the Lindrum? That's Peter Erskine. He's a great jazz drummer. I love him. I went seen him when I was growing up, man, playing with Maynard Ferguson and Woody Herman's big band. But he's in the Lindrum. So when all these early hits that you hear of hip hop, this is a white guy who y'all are sampling these beats, and you pushing with one finger and bop 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 bop, and you create these beats, and now this becomes the legacy of great black music, and it really destroyed the legacy of great black music. And I'm sorry, what do you say?
Send your hate mail to brotherhair.com.
I'm saying this. I love to see cats rapping. You know what I mean? I like that. I mean, that's a tradition, man, from the last poets on to the gospel jubilees.
Back to Africa.
Back to Africa.
You had
so I like
Jollies
that. I like that part. I'm talking about the music part now. I'm talking about the creating the music part. I mean, man, there's people who came who I ran into who told me they were drum machine programmers, professional drum machine programmers, and I don't know what that is. I mean, like you can't sit down and play a drum kit or a hand drum or a djembe or none of that, but they can sit at a sampler or a drum machine and put in a beat that, like what did my cat say? He looked at the drum kit and he told his buddy, he's like, that's what back in the day, that's what they used to do beats on.
Right.
He looked at the drum kit. Him and his partner walked by and they seen a little drum kit in the room, and that's what they used to do beats on back in the day. Like, wow, like is it so obsolete? Wow. So
I'm gonna show just so y'all know, because now we on a topic that I like to get into. This was one of my students' favorite lectures. A lot of people don't know that this is also what I did. We talk about diet, but I'm the music. But I got my little lecture on the history of jazz or jazz poetry and early rap. But my whole thing is just study the history and study the hookup. Because there's more than just, like I said, way more. You take it back to Africa. Then there's a jazz poetry tradition, the early rap. Usually I'd go through this slow. I'm not gonna give this lecture now, but I'm gonna just show y'all this little like an outline. African music, the griots and jollies, African American culture and traditions. You got the signifying and the toasts and the dozens, Black American musical traditions, all the things that was happening from field hollers, the spirituals, all of that stuff feeds into this long tradition of which what we call hip hop came out of that. And they originally were going to actually call it something like jazz hop. Jazz was originally going to be in the title because it was associated with, there was usually some kind of jazz being played in the poetry on top. As you go back to the jazz poetry tradition and things that was the beatniks and the things in the 50s and the 60s, and then you get the last poets and those kind of guys, there's always like a live music component. Yeah, right, and so they were about to call it like jazz hop originally before, and then they ended up calling it hip hop. But, so I kind of go through there. So I don't know if y'all interested in this. I might go on here and do one of these lectures one time. This is, I got how many for this was my introduction to jazz course. I got 30 lectures. It's the history of jazz, and I thought that sometime eventually I'll do an e-course of that. The challenge is it's kind of copyright. You got to kind of mess around so that you don't play music that's copyrighted and that kind of thing. But there's ways that you can do it now because so much of this music is available on Spotify and YouTube and that kind of stuff. So if somebody else has it uploaded, you can link to something that's already uploaded in a course like that. But
you have to give it a chance. I mean, you have to give other forms of sound and vibration a chance. I love Earth, Wind, and Fire. I'm not telling y'all to give that up.
Right.
But I'm saying to extend the listening and, it's like, when you're doing your enema, man, there's nothing better than for me to put on like interstellar space.
yeah, and just go off into it. And here's people's bringing up Last Poet. So anybody that talks about the history of hip hop and they don't bring up Last Poets, you're done.
Yeah,
I mean,
right,
we know more conversation because if you read through, I always like to actually.
They don't know the name though. They'll know the name, but they won't know the.
Well,
word.
they won't know the. Yeah, so I like to go through and actually study some of the lyrics and the things they was talking about, and I'll say that I still haven't heard somebody, and I know people, y'all will name some folks, but I haven't heard nobody that gets, in terms of really assailing the political mainstream and really, inciting a level of intelligence and revolution. I haven't heard it.
Well, they tell you now it doesn't. The hip hop guys don't do it because it don't make any money.
Well, yeah, right.
So, is that the reason why Last Poets was doing what they were doing?
I mean, it's a whole different.
They were doing what they were doing because that's what they were feeling, and it happened to slip through the crack and make money. And more power to them. They didn't bow down or try to fit something into something. They just were being themselves.
Right, yeah, but they did this Bird's Word where they talking about, it's like a whole, one tradition within the hip hop lineage is doing songs that give credence to jazz. Like the hipper of the hip hop guys, they will do stuff like this Bird's Word, and you got a whole bunch of guys later that do things that talk about the history of the music and jazz. Then
well, a lot of people talk about they love jazz. Everybody you run into, man, I love jazz. Yeah, right. And then you start talking to them about, then they don't know the artist, they don't know the music. They think jazz is Kenny G or something. That's what they're referring to, jazz. But some of the real milestones, Miles Davis milestones, they don't know nothing about that. Art Blake and the Jazz Messengers,
right?
They don't know nothing about that, man, and it's hard for them to sit and listen to that with some kind of like without them getting bored. They're oh man,
right?
But it's just you gotta relearn yourself, people. I mean, this is what the Mucusless Diet is about. It's about relearning yourself.
Education, man.
Yeah,
educate.
It's not about trying to fit everything into the Mucusless Diet. Everything has to change now. Your physiology, if you're trying to reconstruct your blood, everything has to change now. You can't look at or physiologically you won't be able to look at things the same. You just will not. If you're physiologically doing the right things with the Mucusless Diet transition, you will not look at life the same way.
Right.
You just won't.
Right.
You just won't. Things will change. Hopefully, you will get some clarity. Now there are situations where people move a little bit too fast,
right,
with the mucusless diet, and it goes in the opposite direction, real chaotic.
right.
Those things happen, but that's why we keep saying nice and steady. You know, slow and steady is the word. You know, slow and steady is the word of how to do this piece. So
Right.
So yeah, man. I mean, if somebody out there, Professor Spira, who's out there, who says, okay, where should I start at? What would be a good album or CD, I guess now, or go to YouTube, and what would be a good what would be your pick? I think I'll pick one. You pick one. Would be your pick to
like an album. Well, what's yours?
Man, I would have to go with I like Max Roach, Clifford Brown. I don't. What is that? The one that I get a kick out of you. Whatever that. I'm trying to think of the name of that album. Brown is it Brown and
Studying Brown?
Studying Brown.
Yeah,
It might
yeah,
be
yeah.
Studying Brown. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Studying Brown. But that, yeah, man, that really made me grow up as far as trap drumming, you know, like drumming and hearing Max playing on that. I was like, dang, man. Like, boy, I got some work to do.
Yeah.
And then to think about, like, when these records were coming out, how hip would that be to see these guys in a club in the early 50s playing this kind of level of that level of art? Man, that had to be revolutionary, man.
Right.
To see these cats playing on that level.
Right.
You know, it's like, wow, man. I mean, that's how I feel the whole piece like that. Like, wow, man, this is incredible, man. And still to this day, you're not gonna find people who can play on that level.
Right.
That's the scary part about it. It's like, damn, like these guys were like special, you know, like this special era of art, you know, the Renaissance, you know, it was the Renaissance of you know, I've heard things about those who were taken from Africa were the best. You know what I mean?
The ones that made it over and survived.
Yeah, we're the best of the best. You know what I mean? Like and so when you see the art of especially when you're talking about jazz music, that art form that can go, you know, that visual arts, or, you know, somebody can look at a picture, you don't have to be able to speak the language, but you can get something out of the visual.
Right.
Same with the music. It's such a powerful art form that you don't have to, you know, we can go to Japan or Russia or the Far East, and we didn't have to be able to talk to each other. But as soon as I start playing my drums, I'm in.
Right.
You know, it's like, yeah, you know, and so that's such a powerful art form, you know, such a powerful art form, man.
Bring your drummers.
And we don't
we
even
live in
know
a remix culture now.
how powerful that is.
Right.
To be able to, you know, that people can pick up on your sound and vibration, but you know, they can't understand a word out your mouth.
Right.
But they can hear you, you know, playing your trombone and be like, wow, it really touched me, and then you can communicate, and you know that's happened, where we've communicated with people. We don't speak a stitch of the same language, but they hear our music and we start talking to each other. We
Right.
we figure it out.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
We figure it out. We just start talking and communicating and
you know, and all musicians kind of have their little niche of what they do well, and we've always been improvisers. Like that's what
we do.
That's what we do. We walk into a situation, and whatever's going on, we can find a way to fit into it and, you know, lend ourselves to that music, you know, and take it somewhere, you know, the improvisational art, and
which is a lost art.
Yeah. Not a lot of guys can't.
They don't want to.
Yeah.
They just don't want to improvisate.
Yeah.
They feel better with having charts or having the samplers and the sequencers be there, but just to make up music right there on the spot and create form right there on the spot. It's one thing, you know, to create some music and people don't know that you just created it right there on the spot. You know, it was like, wow, that was a great song. Who wrote it? You just look at them,
right.
You know, so.
And for those of you that have been watching, I kind of you'll be able to go back and pause it if you want to go and look at some of the. I had a lot of my lecture notes, the PowerPoint presentation. I kind of got it up there, so you can go back and check out some of those things. But and that's just the basics, you know, because this is that course, Introduction to Jazz, is just for non-musicians, and so it's just really hitting the basics. But if it's stuff that you don't know yet, then you should check it out and really be informed about that. But if you ask me, I'd have to think about it. The first thing that always comes to my mind to tell people to listen to if you really want to get baptized, and this is kind of, it's one of two things depending on the person. So I'd either tell them to listen to, if they really need to get baptized quick, listen to John Coltrane live in Japan.
Yeah, I figured you were going to say John Coltrane.
Yeah,
something.
Yeah. John Coltrane live in Japan.
Yeah.
That, you know, that's.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah.
You know, that's my.
I wore so many of those albums out because that was a 2-record set.
Yeah.
And I just wore them albums out, and I remember playing that, my mother like hollering down into the basement like.
Yeah.
Like. She said, man, it sound like they playing. She said, it sound like they playing 2 different songs.
Yeah.
But man, I was vibing so heavy on that, man. You know, Alice and
oh, here's a question for you. And the second album would probably be Pharoah Sanders' Karma. Like for some, you know, if people can't get to that Coltrane, you might be able to hit Karma first, because that kind of transitions you in with something that's, you know, that before it goes way out, you can transition in with something pleasant, conventionally pleasant to the ear, you know, and come on in. And
yeah, because we don't want to say Ascensions and.
You're not ready for that. That's like, you know, that's a year-long fast type of equivalent. You know, you got to transition into that.
Yeah.
But the funny thing was, I listened to all of that stuff because I didn't know what any of it was. And when I was around 15, 16 years old, every week I would go up to there was a library that was a couple miles away, and I'd ride my bike up to the library and go in there and just get a new set of CDs, of jazz CDs, and just check stuff out. And I had no clue too much of what was going on. So I start off, I knew Miles Davis, and so I'd get all these Miles Davis CDs, bring them back, listen to them. Then I see, okay, this guy named John Coltrane's on there. People talked about him. I go back and start getting these John Coltrane albums, and I'm just getting them based on what the cover looks like. So I take it home, man, and that was something. You know, I'm like 15, 16 years old, and I'm sitting there with these headphones. I might even been younger now, but I put the headphones on and started listening to Ascensions, John Coltrane Ascensions, and I couldn't stop listening to it. Like I knew that this was something. I didn't know what, this sounded like something from another universe. I mean, it was just, it's music from another universe.
From some place that makes sense.
In
a place that don't make sense.
I mean, just the sound. I mean, it just sounds like, man, so you had to check it out to even, I can't even talk about it. It's like so heavy, but to think about, these sounds and vibrations are so powerful, and just as we do things that remove obstruction from our colon and our stomach, you listen to the right music, it removes obstruction from your mind.
Exactly. That's key. That's key. Is that was what that music was for. It wasn't being promoted like that. Like, hey, this was the music for you to see life in a more majestic way, and to really have some clarity about rational thinking. Like, just like, this was like, like, wake up,
right?
Like real wake up music. Like, wake up. You deaf, dumb, and blind. Here's some sound and vibration that is stimulating you to be a critical thinker.
Right. And let's see. Let's check the chat. Some cats was Embrace Pure said, yes, Prof. Spira coming through. Oberheim says, wow, you brothers have some educated ears. When I think about my fall, it was definitely accompanied by Tupac, Mace, 3-6 Mafia, then the trap music. That stuff is sticky and catchy, just like mucus.
Spira comes from another generation. So, we always have these discussions of things, because he's gonna like fight to the end for his era. We have different opinions and different views on different eras of music and things and what it means and all that kind of stuff. But let's see, there was a Donald Byrd and Herbie Hancock both went from hard bop to funk fusion. The evolution is amazing. Yeah, that's on like the next lecture. Goes through the whole fusion transition, and I think there was a question. Money. That was what that was about. They were trying to make money.
Let's see. G asked, I got to see Art Blakey in a tiny club. I missed Lee Morgan.
Wow.
He said, seen Art Blakey.
Yeah, man. That was the best way to see Art Blakey, was in those little small clubs, man.
Oh, geez, yeah. Pharoah Sanders, Astral Traveling is one of my favorite of all times. That's a great one, man.
That's a great album.
And there was someone that asked, do we know who Billy Cobham is?
Do I know?
There was a question there.
Do I know?
That's his, that's one of his cats, man.
Billy Cobham, man. That cat is like, he turned my head around, because I was coming out of that Buddy Rich bag, and then I stepped into, I seen Billy Cobham when I was probably about 12. He was with Mount Vishnu, and the only reason that I was there was my cousin was a DJ in Cincinnati, Ohio, pretty popular DJ on the black radio stations, and he was emceeing that show.
Yeah.
And he took me. He's like, man, you gotta go. He's like, And I never forget walking in to the place. It was a place called Reflections. It's not there anymore. But walking into the place, and they had the band had I don't know if they had been there. The equipment was set up, and Billy Cobham's drum kit was just about 20 cymbals, 20, 30 drums. I mean, it was just drums everywhere. Now, you can imagine somebody coming out of, like, a little 4-piece, you know, Buddy Rich drum kit type of, to walk into that, and I'm just sitting there but nobody there, you know, he's emceeing, so we're just there, and I got access to the stage. I'm kind of just like, oh, wow, look at this drum. And I said, boy, I got to see who's getting ready to play this. And, man, my life changed like the mug, boy. I mean, after that, you know, and he talked to me, you know, and gave me a bunch of sticks and, you know, and told me about some rudiments that I needed to work on and kind of quizzed me and kind of did some rhythm things. Asked me did I know this and books. He was like, he's like, you got the stick control book, George Lawrence Stone? And I'm like, yeah, you know, I got it. You know, he's like, okay, page 6, you want to work on that? And man, he just, you know, so yeah, Billy Cobham is, and I've seen Billy probably, man, you know, probably 10 times in my lifetime.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've seen a lot of him. And then, you know, being out and playing some festivals and being on the same festivals, you know, it's kind of like seeing that cat, yeah. So,
right.
And we're Facebook friends, man. So I get a chance to, you know, and I got a chance to give him a Brother Air CD, and he was like really into it because he friended me.
Right.
After that, it was like he actually must have lit. I said, "Man, check it out, because I'm playing marimba." You know?
Yeah.
And he was like, "Man, I need to get back on my marimbas, man." You know, I said, you know, so yeah. So when you say Billy Cobham, man, that touches a real deep, you know, deep part of my heart, man. For a cat that plays that good. And, you know, I mean, he's like one of the few specialists. He's a specialist as a drummer, you know. There's only a few of those guys that's like a specialist, like somebody who plays so different, you know, and he sets up his drums different. He's playing multiple drums, and his independence is scary. He's just, you know, he's a cat, man. I just remember transcribing some of his drum solos on like Crosswinds, those albums, and Magic Carpet Ride and all that kind of stuff. But with a needle. Now imagine, you know, with a needle or a cassette. Imagine picking up the needle and trying to get these 64 notes, duplets, with running the needle. You know, pick up the needle, go back. Pick up the needle, go back. And you listening to, you know, you trying to figure that out like that.
Right.
You know, versus now where guys have all the YouTube stuff, and they can go and see their hero telling them exactly how they're doing a roll around the drum, or a feel, or something around the drum. So I had to sit. I didn't have this kind of stuff that's up on the screen now. I didn't have that.
Right.
Where I could study and look and see. I had to go to the concerts, remember as much as I could, and then the records, just try to like figure it out, you know, figure out his sticking and you know, yeah, man. Yeah, so yeah, when you talk about Billy Cobham, man, you're talking about a cat who, and I mean, he was like one of the as they call the drum gods, because he had his records being played on black radio, and it was instrumental music.
Right.
So he slipped through the crack. A master drummer like that, you know, that's getting that kind of publicity was very unusual at the time.
Right.
You know, and You know, so he lives over in I think in Switzerland somewhere now, and so you know he's still out there, and he does a thing every year called a rhythm section camp, where he taught. I would love to attend it one year because he talks about just rhythm sections. So it's guitar players, bass players, drummers, and he just deals with the rhythm section for like a week or however long it is. It's just like a week long, just talking about and telling you how to play in a rhythm section. It'd be real hip, you know, to go and hang, man, and because he's got serious musicians coming in doing workshops, and you know that whole week it's just real intensive. I'm quite sure. So he's putting you with rhythm sections. You getting right to the business, you know, like playing, like you know. So
yeah. So, there was a question that was kind of interesting. Where'd that go? No, Anthony Bishop asks, both of us, has Hilton Hotima's writings influenced your practice of the Mucusless Diet Healing System or enforced your perspective of Ehret's teachings? And I don't, because me and you hadn't talked to. When I think about it, we didn't talk a lot about, because
I studied him, but it didn't really. Not really.
Okay.
Not for me.
Yeah.
Not for me. It didn't do anything for me because I was hip to Ehret, and it was like I was in Ehret.
Yeah.
You know, but.
Yeah.
I checked him out, and you know, and I can say, no, it didn't influence me, because I stayed in the Ehret stuff.
Yeah,
you know, I was like,
Hilton, it probably influenced me definitely, and because there was a logic to some of the things that he was talking about. We're talking about the law of vital adjustment. And some of these kind of things are really helpful for me I guess with what you're saying, it solidified a lot of the philosophical areas of Ehret's work, and it challenged some of them, and kind of, but for the most part, a lot of things were in line.
If that was important to you. My thing was just the physiology part.
Well, it was, yeah. I mean, it was, So it was important. Yeah, it was important to me because basically, when you talk about conversations with Vic, that was that was.
That's why I didn't get so excited.
Yeah, right.
Because I was hanging out with Vic.
Yeah. So, but for me, that was like, that was almost like having. The Man's Higher Consciousness was like a textbook, and then I was having these like Socratic conversations. That was my experience with it. So some of it, so that was, and the writing. If you look at, I will say that the writing style influenced me a lot in terms of start getting into Spira Speaks. There's
buy one soon.
He's like, yeah, I'm gonna buy one soon. Like, man, and but so it also influenced my writing style for a certain type of content, a certain type of material. Now, a lot of my, and I got some writings on, because some of my beef, it's not really beef, it's just criticisms of Hotima and other authors like that, but of the era and those past eras they have very poor citation type of skills, or just it's like it's not important to them to really have a good bibliography references. As someone that did go through academia and all of that, I'm a stickler for where did you come from? You know, if you didn't make it up yourself, divine intervention or whatever, tell us where you got these ideas from. And as that happens all the time on Facebook, sometimes people are copying and pasting entire things that I wrote, and they'll put it, and they won't give any credit. They'll post it up like they wrote it. Like, wait a minute, I wrote that. I don't mind if you copy and paste it. Just put my name on it, you know. And so that's a little pet peeve, but that's to me where the problem, when I have problems with Hotima and other writers. I mean, there's a whole lineage of, you know, sometimes people call them occult writers or whatever title you give them. There's a tradition that's there, and the problem with a lot of those guys is, to me, you just have to read it kind of as a philosophical exercise. It's kind of like, almost look at reading those books like a workout, like a philosophical workout, you know, where I go outside and I jump on the trampoline and do my push-ups and all that kind of stuff. Then I sit down with some Hotima and read that, and just, it's like a workout for my philosophical dynamic, you know, aspect of my brain. It just kind of, it's like, oh yeah, you know, just opens up pathways and ideas and things that it kind of focuses in a frequency. And I got other books that do that as well, you know, and music that does that, and there, you know, different things that do that. Pieces of art can also do that. But so yeah, so that's my answer. What else we got? Let's see. There's a couple questions that Ishmael asked. I heard things like the body start to decline on just fruits and vegetables alone. Just want to really know, because I could prefer to not eat nuts if not needed. Before that, he said, hey, I read the book and everything. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty much mostly raw now. I was wondering, do we need to eat fats? I heard that the body needs 80% alkaline and 20% acidic. Acidic being like nuts and fats. And so then I see Obakhan said something. So we'll address this, just because there's so many people out there that even, and that's why I created the annotated Mucusless Diet Healing System.
Buy one soon.
Because because of that, people are missing the point of much of what's in the book. They're missing transition diet lessons, the systematic short-term fasting. You know, Arnold he coined the term intermittent fasting. That has been co-opted and turned into something strange today. But you know, he talks about this concept of intermittent fasting and rational fasting, Mucusless diet. And it's like, you don't have to be so strict and analytical in terms of this quantitization, trying to quantify everything and saying, okay, I'm doing 80% raw and 50% mucus-free and mucus-lean. And it's like, that's too much stuff swirling around in your head. It's unnecessary stuff. If you're dealing with the transition, there's mechanics that you can specifically apply that has nothing to do with percentages that are made up anyway, because you're not actually measuring. You're probably not measuring, you know, you're the weight and weighing things with the calories and the grams and the ounces. It's unnecessary. If you're dealing with the mechanics, and that's what I liked about Ehret's work, it was mechanical. And if you just follow the principles, follow the transition, and if you did read the book, there's a discussion about nuts. Nuts can be used, but how do you use them? There's a certain way. You don't just go and just eat a bunch of nuts. You eat the nuts and the raisins. And so, yeah, so that's all in the book that you can. But so read the book again and really focus on the transition diet lessons, and and just dig into the transition. There's videos I got. If you type transition diet into my YouTube channel, there's videos where I went over these lessons. And so, we've spent a lot of time really trying to focus on transition diet just because it is the most misunderstood and ignored element of this whole diet, of any of these dietary plant-based movements and healing diets and fasting and all that. Transition and the transition diet is the most misunderstood and ignored element of all of that. And so that's what I'm trying to help bring to the table. And because we could talk about all of that stuff that would get us clicks. If I did I could do something like Brother Ehret does his 10-month fast or does a 40-day dry. I know if I was trying to get clicks, there's things that we could talk about that we're doing that would still, it'd be honest. But I don't do that because I know that as soon as we start getting into those topics and talking about that stuff, then a lot of people don't understand it. And a lot of people have this monkey see, monkey do attitude. I prefer, if that's why I try to show people me studying. So if it's going to be like that, okay, you see me studying and going through this stuff very meticulously. Well, you do that too. Don't rely on me to do it. I'm doing it to show you and inspire you to study, to get deep into this information. And if all we was doing was up here, like I said, the monkey see, monkey do, people end up getting hurt because they don't transition properly. They try to do whatever we're talking about, and that's a lot of that's going on the YouTube where people are talking about doing long periods on fruit and the raw and all that kind of stuff. But very few people are just like, okay, this is my transition. This is what I ate today, and okay, yesterday was a mucus lean day. I did this. It's one of those things that's. That it's starting to happen. We're starting to get some of that. Like I think Obacon's been posting up some of his meals and things in the forum, which I appreciate. And because I've been, asking for, because I've said that's other folks are going to have to do that because I'm not going to probably do that. And because that's just not. For every once in a while I'll take a picture of something that I'm about to eat or something, but I generally don't think about doing that. I'm not on that wavelength like that. I try to share the content and the study material. But so that's the name of that game is transition. That is the meditation. Let's see here. So yeah. So that's what's going on. And so a couple announcements. Let's go on ahead and if you are available, July 27th and 28th, we got the second annual Professor Arnold Ehret Day celebration. We will be in the Whetstone Parker Rosa Shelter House on Saturday from 11 a.m. to 9:30 or 9 o'clock p.m. Then we will be in the Whetstone Park, starting out in the park on Sunday, July 28th from 12:15 to 5 p.m. And right now you can get your early bird tickets. And you want to jump on these now because they're not going to be available at this price forever. So you can go. There's a link down below. You should see a link for this if you're on the YouTube, or there's also might be a link if you're listening to this somewhere else. But we're trying to honor the legacy, Professor Arnold Ehret, spread a little bit of love, hook up with one another, some like-minded folks, and just take the celebration to a whole nother level. And we've been fundraising. If you would like to donate, we're still accepting donations for a little while longer. because there's actually some really good gifts along with those donations, and I'm starting to get filled
because
up.
Everybody can't make it. Everybody can't make it to Columbus, but you can send $10-$20 to help with something with the I don't know, the paper plates or something.
Right.
You know,
Every
just,
little bit helps.
Because we're not like wealthy people that can put on events and stuff. We would love to do it, and that's where we're headed. Where we'll be, self-funded at one point. To be able to do it all. But we all, gotta kind of work together and kind of.
It's definitely. Yeah, I mean, our thing has always been community.
Community
driven.
Yeah, it's always about community and trying to elevate. Elevation is key. And so, help. Send 10, 20, 50, whatever you can, 100, whatever you can, because it's not going into our pocket. Believe me. We find something, that we need to do with it to have a quality event and make sure everybody is comfortable at the event.
Right.
That's the key for us, man. Make sure everybody's comfortable and having a good time, and that we can provide some information. And that's the key, is we don't want, like people to come and not get something that they can take with them. You dig? We want them to really be able to like the tickets, 110, 125, but we want to have a program that's worth,
$500 ticket.
Yeah, well, I mean,
like worth
thousands
that.
And thousands of dollars that you're getting back of information that you can use to elevate your life. So that's what we kind of like modeling around that, like, giving, and this stuff isn't free. I mean, we can't get cats to come from California, Canada and stuff like that free, and so we make sure that they get here and that they have a place to stay and that they're taken care of when they're here, and so that's all that's about, man. It's just, and that makes it a community-driven kind of Ehret Day.
Right.
We're honoring Ehret, but you can be a part of it. And one person isn't getting all the credit. Oh, wow, that was great. He did. Professor Spira, he did a great job, man. It's a bunch of folks, that's helping, and mind you, Spira, especially down the stretch, boy. I can imagine seeing him like a week out, boy. Like, I'm gonna kind of be kind of scarce, I'm gonna just kind of show up, I know Spira's gonna be like really like into it, like really like, he'll probably pull out his Eagle Scout uniform.
No.
Put it on. Start like, giving orders.
Giving orders.
So that's gonna be funny, man. So just send what you can if you can,
Yeah. So you can hit the link below. There's the fundraiser link, the link to get the early bird tickets, all of that good stuff. Check it out and
trying to keep on Ehret's legacy, man, and I really appreciate it, man, that this cat documented a transitional, physiology-wise. I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful, man, that this cat had something that I could clean myself up with.
Right.
I was filthy, He say, I was blind, but now I see.
Right.
He definitely opened my eyes.
Yeah.
You know, so.
So, let's see, there's a question. Ishmael says, do you do consultation? So, there is, just for a few more days, there's going to be, if you want a consultation, go to the fundraiser and scroll down and look at the different gifts, and there's I guess I got a few consultations left, because I don't like to do too many and work with I like to really focus on the folks I'm working on. You know, some folks do, I mean, I know folks that work with 20 and 30 people every week, because that's like what they do. And that's fine, you know, if that's your temperament and you are into that. But I've always been about, when I did do consultations, I did 4 years straight where I did mucus-free consulting and coaching, and I didn't miss a week for 4 years straight. And then I finally needed to take a break. And when I take a break, I don't just take a break for a week or something. You know, I do a year or two. You know, that's a break for me. And so for the past year, I haven't been doing consultations. I've finished the e-course, which was really important to me to do. A couple other projects I got done, and then so now there's, if you want a consultation at the $200 level, gets a 60-minute consultation. Then the $250 level, I think, is the consultation plus the menu plan. But check and make sure. Scroll down. This is my memory serves, I think is what it is. And I think the $300 level was e-course, is enrollment in the e-course, 60-minute consultation, and the menu plan. And then the $350 level was to have a month worth of consultations, so 4 consultations and the menu plan and the e-course and everything else. So, and that's only going to be available probably for a few more days. I'm only going to accept a few more people for the consultation thing, because essentially, you know, those are gifts. We want to make it good for the people that give, but of course, that's another area where I'm donating that, you know, that time, because all the money's going into the event, and then I'm spending that time, which I'm happy to do, you know. But at the same time, I one thing that I know about myself, I have to monitor and not get too overwhelmed, you know, and doing too many things and stuff at once, and so I got to be kind of careful with that. But yeah, if anybody interested in consultation, this is your chance. Do it now. Like, go and donate at one of those levels now, because I might look in the inbox tomorrow and we get a few more, and then I'll shut the fundraiser down. And so yeah, so that answers that question. But so yeah, so I think been a good little session, I think.
Yeah, man. I gotta get on back down the road.
Yeah.
So,
maybe want to do another piece, little closing music here for them.
Well, tell them to come to the Ehret Day and they'll hear us.
Well,
I don't care. I mean, you know.
Yeah, let's play it out. So
play it out.
Yeah.
And
So
I'm
this
on
is
down the road. Thanks
yeah.
for tuning in and being there and the chat.
Yeah. We appreciate it, and so yeah. So all right, let's get this rolling.
Man.
Peace, love, and breath.